Good afternoon and welcome to Turning Green, but we just can't hear it. But we'll continue on with roll call while they work on that, and we'll start down here at the end.
Coco Sutton.
Patty Scott.
Ariane Lyons.
Jamie Faraday.
Kurt Benward.
Greg Hamblett.
Christina Texera.
And Amy Edmonds, City of Coos Bay.
Thank you so much. We have some public comments on here. We will start with Elise and co-commenting with Patty here, and we'll dig right in.
Hello, I'm Elise Hamner. I live in North Bend, but I have a post office in Coos Bay. And I helped, I got the fun project of serving on the North Bend master plan process for the parks. We just finished, I think, a week or two ago. The city council adopted that. So I hope that plan gets shared with you all. HGE helped us, and it was fun. One of the things we saw doing that process was about 280 people commented during the public comment phase, and probably a third of them were from Coos Bay. And the reality is people in Coos Bay and North Bend all share our parks, and we all love our parks, and a lot of the concerns in our survey were similar to what came out in your survey when you did your awesome master plan. And I work at SWAC, and I'm here representing Southwestern Oregon Community College today. I'm going to have a conversation with you all. I'm Patty Scott. Because we did a master plan also, and we have a 150-acre campus that abuts Empire Lakes Park, John Topics Park, and we have a trail system that we are working on and hope to install over the next 2 years. We worked with Ptarmigan Trails out of Port Orford, a really well-known trail organization. They did the mountain bike trails here in Coos County, but they've done trails all over the planet. They're awesome, and this is a map of their vision. We have a flyer. And we're hoping to connect up to John Topics Park. We're hoping to get some of the bridges fixed and hope this will be a collaboration with the city of Coos Bay. Should I go sit down now?
If you look at, might be easier if you look at the map here. If anyone in the audience wants one, I have some extras. If you want to give one to Cricket, maybe. So one of the reasons we wanted to talk to the Coos Bay Parks Commission is, number one, we're your partner. We share part of the lake. And if you go down to the bottom here, the green part on this map is Coos Bay, the gray is North Bend, and then the kind of yellowish color is SWAC property. And Newmark is right here above the white area, and over here from Newmark going up is on Coos Bay property, and the recommendation by Ptarmigan Trails is to put in a trail which would be on the city's property, right behind the neighborhood facility building facility. So we wanted just to kind of get that on the radar. And then there's a couple other bridges that we would be doing on our property, up on the way north corner. And perhaps at the same time, we might think about the bridges in Empire, in Toppets Park at the same time. Just throwing it out there, so. And this is not just walking. This is, if you look at the legend, it's a multimodal, and there will be mountain bike trails, which I'm pretty excited about. I don't know if there are other approved mountain bikes trails in the city, either city. And so for us, we hope that opens up opportunities for us to do some different kind of classes perhaps. And we have a lot of people now who come and use our parking lots to teach their kids how to ride bikes and to drive, because they're wide open and they're not very well staffed in the weekend with cars. So, and a lot of people are out there during COVID. So people do like to come walk around the campus, and we think that the trail will just add a lot to the recreational opportunities in Coos Bay North Bend, and particularly out. We also are looking at potentially putting in, it's not on the map, but disc golf, which again, we might also be able to feed into some kind of a degree program. We're looking at a recreation program. And I just, before I came here, walked off our parking lot 2 back on the trail that does exist that goes over to the park, and it's really breaks my heart to see how many camps, former camps, to trash. It's just an ongoing process for us to try to keep it clean, and then the city cleans up stuff in Toppets, they come to us, and it goes back and forth, and it's just an endless, and so this should help with that problem. The more activity we can get out there and clean up the brush and open it up, the better it's going to be, I think, for all of us. So, questions about this?
Yes, are you going to be putting in for,
I think it's on our list. We have like 40 different things on there, so I'm sorry, I don't remember what they are off the
because
top
that's
of my
something
head.
that we'll probably be looking at for some of our stuff.
Well, and that's, I mean,
Collaborate.
Patty mentioned the bridge. That's one thing that if we can partner with the city of Coos Bay on an application that funds bridges per se, if we can carve off pieces of the project and benefit both organizations and both communities, that would be awesome. And grantors like that.
Well, and it also is nice, because as we know, staging and rollout is an expensive component piece of any of this. So if we can share some of those costs for work that needs to be done in both locations, there's always a benefit there. So.
Elise, is any of the trails, I see some easy traditional, does that mean they're accessible?
So I don't know the right terminology, but yes, the main walking, hiking trails are, there's a term for it. I always forget it. It's not ADA accessible, but it's an
ABA.
ABA, right. So yes, that's the intent.
That helps with funding too.
And when we say bridges, not all of the water crossings are traditional bridges. There's different construction that they do too. So we don't have to go through a massive permitting process. Am I forgetting anything?
Any other additional commissioner or staff questions?
No, I think it's, I hope this comes to fruition for the college. And it looks like a great opportunity. And Coco, just to let you know, the city is pursuing the Oregon Community Pass Grant for the Front Street project right now that is going to be submitted in January. And so we're well aware of that grant. We're looking at it. So maybe in the future we can go after it again.
I like the main connection with Toppets on the south end of the bridge. That makes total sense.
Yeah, if there
Welcome.
happens to be any funding that like one or the other isn't eligible for that we could collaborate on, just that, we'd be interested in that, because this benefits, I think, both of us and the whole area.
And nonprofit groups, if you are available for nonprofits that make under $250,000 a year in donations, there are some grants we don't at the SWAC Foundation qualify for, but we would love to partner with you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Elise. We appreciate it. And this is an awesome project, and any park improvements that we can make in our community. Because just like you said, we don't just stop at the line and we say, well, we can't go to that park because it's in North Bend or it's in Coos Bay. We all use all of the facilities, so that's great. Thank you so much. Right, and Jennifer. It is. It's so we can stare at you.
Okay. Jennifer Wersing, City of Coos Bay. So just wanted to give you some background on the Front Street to Mingus Park Bike Facilities Project, formerly called the Sharrows Project. So if you recall, we went to the joint work session, and council had some extra questions. They wanted to know some construction costs, specifically related to the signal phase at 4th and Commercial, and then the intersection improvements at northbound Highway 101 and Market. And so we coordinated with Southern Oregon Transportation Engineering and ODOT. The original design cost, not including the Highway 101 and Market intersection, was $40,000. ODOT said to design that intersection, and which includes a rapid flashing beacon, ADA improvements, a signal crossing, updated lighting, just for design is $60,000. So it'd be about $100,000 for design. And then total construction costs, we got also cost estimates from ODOT and Southern Oregon Transportation, about $325,000. So on Monday, we met with ODOT. ODOT actually had some plans that they're looking at. They want to look at installing bike facilities or bike lanes on the northern portion of 101, right where Fur is, Fur and Coos Bay Village, going north, and I think into North Bend as well. They're also they also asked us if we'd be interested in installing bike lanes in the downtown corridor. And we're always interested, but we have partners and downtown associations because we would lose on-street parking. And so more to follow on that, but they did seem open to that as well. Then staff brought up the 101 and Market intersection with them and just said this really is a safety issue that we wanted them to be aware of. They said they looked at it many years ago, kind of before the development, before Coos Bay Village, before Front Street really started taking off. And they acknowledge that there's been some changes, and so maybe there is some improvements that are warranted today. So they agreed to take a look at that intersection and absorb those investigation costs. So more to follow on that. Then on Tuesday, Greg presented to council. He presented that additional information that they want.
I know the Sheriff's project, the cost particularly of that blinking lights for the intersection and stuff, but even if we can't move on that quickly, I hope there's some way to carve out the crossing from Market Street over to Front Street, because I do think with all the development down there and everything, and to have people to be able to walk from there in downtown Coos Bay, you know, it's just not about bikes there. It's about pedestrians for sure.
So we've got some information to follow up. I'll get a schedule and see if they can maybe give us a schedule so we don't keep bugging them, and see when their investigation is going to be complete. So we'll keep on it.
Yeah, and it's a vehicular issue too. I mean, every time I'm in that intersection, somebody tries to dart out and almost gets hit. So it's multimodal, interesting.
Yeah, and because of the fencing on the front of Broad Street there, from where you actually can cross at the light before that, there's really, if you try to cross anywhere other than there, you come up against the fence, and so that's where people try to cross. But I really do think Jennifer's point about when they looked at that before, there wasn't all that development down there. And I see people ride, I see people walk, and I think it's important.
Yeah, I agree. Carmen?
I'm available for any questions, but basically, I think you summed it up pretty well. I'm disappointed that we're not moving forward, but I think it is prudent to have a more holistic approach to the bicycle transportation. So I'm struggling with that because the Market Street crossing it needs to be dealt with, and sooner rather than later. So I was comforted by the fact that we are moving forward, and I think that that's where the whole council seems to be feeling, is like, as long as we're still making progress, we're not just putting this plan on the shelf. I know that's frustrating. The timelines of things just move slow, and believe me, I feel that frustration, but it is kind of I guess prompting me to just really lean into the whole plan, so that we're not doing things piecemeal and then going, oh man, I wish we would have done it to where these things linked up together. So that's where I'm feeling.
And as you know, I'm always an advocate for an overall master plan, which I think I bring up literally every meeting for every project.
Master plan for master plans?
Yes. And so, I mean, we can discuss it further as we get down, but we missed out on the grant last year, but I do think that, and we can discuss it if it needs to be an agenda item, but I do think that we need to move forward with a grant to do the overall master plan, and direct staff to do so. If we need a motion at some point, we can do that, or tell you just.
I think if we have consensus, we can take that and move forward.
Yes.
And staff has the time?
We actually are doing some changes here at the City of Coos Bay. So Christina is going to be our official full-time grants coordinator.
Congratulations.
Yay, thank you.
So, thank Nicole.
And thank you, Nicole.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we want to do that. Thank you. It was a consensus.
Do you concur, Jamie? Yes, I do. Perfect.
All right, thank you so much. Moving on down to action items, we've got Oregon Bay Area beautification update.
Hello, I'm Katie Loy. I am the treasurer of Oregon Bay Area Beautification, and I kind of wanted to slip something into the public comment last minute. I wear many hats, and one of them is that I am with a walking study group, and of course I do graphic design as a side business. So you're all invited to the walking guide launch party that's going to be at the Coos Bay Library on January 4th, and the walking guide has North Bend and Coos Bay parks all listed in there for great walking trails, and maybe we'll have another edition with the new trails, who knows, but you're all invited to come to that and check it out and get your own guide. You can also download it on the library's website. Okay, so to kind of go over what we did in November, we did the cleanup at the Coos Bay Boardwalk. We had a massive holly tree removed, thanks to Jamie. Great work. So we had a total of 41 volunteers, and out of that, we got 4 cubic yards of invasives of Scotch broom, 2.5 cubic yards of litter, and some people power washed some structures, and we had the kids go and hammer the exposed nails. So that was one of our kid-friendly projects, and they loved that. What is it? Productive destructiveness is great for the kids' projects. So our year total of our second Saturday cleanups in 2024, we had 465 volunteers, which equals out to 1,169 hours worked. That's 65 cubic yards of trash, 42 cubic yards of debris, which includes English ivy, Scotch broom, blackberries, weeds, and shrubs. We planted 40 Sitka spruce seedlings in John Toppit's, and we spread 200 yards of mulch on trails over at Ferry Road Park. So in Coos Bay alone, we had 338 volunteers. That's 845 hours worked, 56 cubic yards of trash, and 34.5 cubic yards of debris. And we already have gotten our 2025 cleanup scheduled out. So we've got John Toppit's 3 times that month or that year. We're reducing the cemetery cleanup to just May in time for Memorial Day weekend. And the next cleanup will be January 11th at the Millicoma Marsh Trail. And then we like to show appreciation to our volunteers as a way to give back to them. So we're having that on Saturday, January 18th from 5 to 7 at the North Bend Senior Center. Food will be provided by Northwest Natural. So you're all welcome to come there and thank the volunteers too as well. And that's all I got.
When you go after grants or things like that, you should do a cubic yard stick frame and put a couple kids in it so people can visualize how much a cubic yard actually is.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could probably do that for our presentation.
Yeah, because I mean, it sounds like a lot, but when you see how big a cubic yard actually is, and you're talking about 65 of them, that's an incredible amount.
Yes, you can follow us on Facebook and on our website. We show pictures after the cleanup. We love to take pictures of all the full trucks of all the progress. And so last month it was really great. There's a great picture of us trying to push up the gate to close it because we got so much Scotch broom out of there.
That's awesome.
So we're looking forward to 2025 being a real invasive kind of cleanup type of thing, like we're doing the airport and Millicoma Marsh and whatnot. So that's kind of our focus, and we're collaborating with SWAC and Coos Watershed Association. So we're planning on big things. So,
Awesome.
and I've got some big dreams. So I'll approach it to you one of these days when I'm ready.
We're excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on down to adopt a park status report. Coco?
Well, the Adopt a Park is a pilot program, and I gave the commissioners, and it's included in the packet, I believe, kind of a synopsis of marketing, partnerships and volunteers, outcomes, and then specifically things that are pending or that we have completed for John Toppet's Park, which included the trail markers, signs, benches, picnic tables that we are targeting to get fixed up, and also the historic Mingus Park Community Building WPA cabin. Right now, the pending, because we had a lot of things pending, we were waiting for somebody that was gonna possibly donate the 6x6 pressure-treated posts to finish the 12 posts that we have funding for, and they weren't able to get the size that we need, and that's important. We do have the stencils being completed for that because the original posts and designs for those were done in a Ford Family Foundation that I believe was in 2010 that Patty Scott gave me some information on. So hopefully these stencils can live at the city so that in the future as people damage, and one of the things we looked at is painting the tops. They're going to be at a 30-degree angle, but using the same brown and then the yellow in them, because if we keep the tops painted, that will probably help the markings last longer. So in the next probably 45 days, we should have a lot of those done, and then we'll be coordinating with the city because we have to be careful that we're pulling out and placing exactly post for post. So is there any questions about the stuff that was listed for Toppet's Park before I move on to the Mingus Community Building from anybody? Okay.
It's exciting.
Yeah, on the Mingus Park Community Building, historic WPA Scout Cabin, which is, woe to me, I'm done with the dang term paper. We received a letter for those of us involved in the process of getting that listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Comes from the State of Oregon Advisory Committee on Historic Preservation. That's a SACHP acronym. The process is nearing the point where their recommendations will be to advance it to National Park Service. The reason this is important is by getting this property listed on the National Register of Historic Places, number one, it opens up for more grant opportunities to continue work on that. Number two, it helps mitigate some of the code requirements that buildings have to have because of its historic nature. I think that we will have something probably after the first of the year in the Friday update on this so that people can make public comment. If you have not been involved in this process, it takes about up to a year, possibly longer, to get something registered on the historic register. We're kind of halfway through that, so most of the recommendations on the panel, which would be meeting at Salem, 250 Winter Street Northeast on February 20th and 21st. There are 5 properties that are in the same position we are, trying to move forward to national parks, and there's one that is a courtesy review, which we already went through. We are not sure where we will fall in day 1 or 2, but we are the second property after the Oahe grocery store, known as the Rock Store. And there's also the Port Orford City Jail, the Oregon Country Methodist Mission sites, and the Mill Place house sites. Now, those 2 sites are very unique because they're archaeological sites, so a lot of the information is redacted on those because they're actively working on those archaeological digs. And the Oregon Country Methodist Mission sites is a multi-state issue. We are the only property that's on a multi-property listing for WPA CCC in Oregon. So we're hopeful that we will be minimal revisions recommended and then recommended moving forward. So that would get us to national parks after those revisions, and they have 45 days, which puts us at a June approval process. And the reason that that is going to be important for our new grant person is there are several grants that are coming up with letters of intent and actions pertaining to historic properties. One of them is the Preserving Oregon grant, and usually in the spring, usually around April, and I have this information that I will forward to you. That's a one-to-one grant. It's up to $20,000. They need 3 estimates for work. And this is something that we might consider for the roof that was damaged. We did get an assessment of the roof being replaced because this is a very unique log cabin structure. The roof damage that was done when that tree fell, you would have to remove the roof and then have a master carpenter come in with logs to replace those logs before they could finish the roof. So it might be better to focus on that section of the roof getting completed with the logs being replaced and then re-roofed. That would also serve as a, here's what it would look like if the whole thing got done, because just if the tree had never fell and the purlins and everything underneath that structure were in great condition, you'd be looking about $160,000 to $200,000 to re-roof with the fire retardant product that's got the 50-year life that is approved for National Park Service. So these are some things that we will be continuing to follow on information for those grants. And there's also a National Trust Preservation Fund, and the city would have to be on that list for National Trust for Historic Preservation's already a member. I did inquire to see if we're on that already, because there were things that happened in the past that don't get caught up and reverberated every year, so I'll wait to hear from that. Are there any questions? If you haven't gone by, the sign is now up at the Mingus Park Community Building, historic WPA cabin. That was a long time coming. Everything in there was 100% donated, and we always have to make sure that we're thinking of the unfortunate vandalism that occurs. The number one issue for that 84-year-old property has always been vandalism, and that probably holds for everything in parks in general. So we're hopeful that as we get the posts, for example, at Toppets Park, we're looking at embedding some of the see something, say something, and the QR codes. They may get hacked off, but at least we can try to embed them in there so that people can get that information. So this first 12 posts will be a nice test to see if the longevity and the utility of them meets requirements. So any other questions?
Great.
I don't have any questions. The Adopt a Park pilot program is, I think, in my opinion, has been quite successful. They've been very busy and have done an amazing job over the course of their existence. It's been bulldogged by three folks that have just really done an amazing job. In the staff report that you folks have in front of you, there was 2 questions asked in the staff report. One of them is, should the Adopt a Park pilot program continue the work that they was started by the Adopt a Park pilot program? So if it pleases the commission, make a recommendation to continue the Adopt a Park pilot program and continue the work that they have started by the Adopt a Park pilot program. And then the second question was, does the Coos Bay Parks Commission want to continue or want to hold in February, the EPA Burn Wise program in concert with the, where is it at here?
It's the next one down, I think.
Yeah, the burn wise is,
The burn ones, you've got it as a
Is
separate
that,
one.
oh, that's a different one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So there's 2 of them, the EPA.
The open house events, I'm sorry. The recommendation to approve the open house events is provided in the staff report, and also the recommendation from the Adopt Park pilot program. Sorry, forgot I had a second one in there.
thank you, Greg. Kurt?
Oh, you knew, huh?
I did. Well, you turned the mic.
Those facial
you turned-
expressions of mine, I guess, just get carried away. First off, I think the Adopt a Park program's great, and we need to go ahead and continue that, and not just the work that they've started, but anything else that may come up in the future. And the open house events, I think, are really great, and I wanted to make this comment in that as I looked at them, like the very first one that's in January, I mean, all of them at the community building, the primary focus should be the community building. But what I think is really cool is down there they're talking about maybe include updates on the new restroom, maybe include updates on the Mingus. It's a vehicle when there's that open house to get other information out about what's going on in the parks in Coos Bay. And so, that's a great avenue. So I think these open houses are important not only for the community building, but I think every time we can be thinking about what can we do to spread information on other things going on and have information available at those open houses about the other park events as well. And the recommendation says make a recommendation to approve open house events. I would add something to that says includes AAPP as the host. The second thing that Greg was talking about is specifically just a motion to let them do the burn thing, but that seems redundant. It's one of the events that we're voting on here. So unless that group has an objection to them hosting all three of those events, I think we just say that as well. So that's it.
Jamie?
And maybe in the interest of what you mentioned about getting the other items in the park highlighted, I don't know how to do it. I'm going through my mind a way of having some cycling with maybe some graphics of what's going to happen. Here's a new restroom, here's a new whatever is going to happen in the park, and have them on a touring trail that takes them up the new trail to the community building and then back through the whole, to say these are connected. These are the same place. They're in Mingus Park. So I don't know how to do that, and that's a little more work for all of us. But it also would, kind of like with the when we had the last Mayfly Festival, we tried to get people up there to show that the park is more than just the pond and the pool. So if there's a way we can do that, that would be good.
Yeah, in the past, what we did was, number one, there's a lot of people that didn't realize that that was part of Mingus Park. So you've got 55 acres there, and you have 120 in Toppet. So making sure people understand where the public spaces are is important, because the more people are positively using the space, it's hopeful that the negative use will wane. We do have display boards that we've used in the past. We've had Cricket give us information for the Marshfield Historic Cemetery that we've had there. We've had handouts from Oregon Bay Area Beautification. The one in February, the reason I'm bringing that up is because last year we tried piloting that because the Coos Bay Hillia Shriners is an organization that provides burn care in Northern California for individuals. And of course, the Shriner Hospital in Salem is very well known. So all the Shrine Clubs have an interest for many, many, many decades in assisting people with burns. The National Burn Awareness Program is a program that is held to make people aware of burns that happen in work, home, and place that you wouldn't think of. For example, having microwaves that are above your head. Elderly people and children get burned every year just by taking things out of those microwaves and having it spill. This year, the National Burn Awareness, and we've tried to get this information out to schools through the Shrine Club, and we partnered with the Coos Bay EMS and Fire Department, that there's always a poster contest component that children or adults can participate in, and it gave a stipend amount of money, I think up to $500 for the organization or the individuals. So hospitals, youth groups, et cetera, have done that. This year, the National Burn Association for 2025 is opening the contest to young people who have had burns and how they overcame them. And that's fitting in with the Shrine Club, what we try to prevent through healthcare and wellness programs. And then also because we have a working fireplace and we had some wonderful volunteers help us build that EPA burn-wise storage for logs for people that burn wood. Our city is a burn-wise city with EPA, and that's also an opportunity to show people the burn meter, the meters that you can tell the wetness of logs, how to burn cleaner, because the attempt to take people away from burning wood in the Pacific Northwest is pretty much like meh. That's not really going to happen a lot, and we want to make sure that if people are using those resources, that they're using the proper resources in the right way, and we have a working fireplace to do that. So if you're okay with it, we can move ahead to see there's a proclamation that the City Council can make for National Burn Awareness Week, and then we would need to decide which of the bookends from February 2nd to the 8th that we wanted to do that. If we wanted to do it the first Saturday or the second Saturday. So I told Tom Shine from the Hilia Coos Bay Shrine Club that I would get back to him to see if the Parks Commission would be interested in having this open house again, and then we could do more advertising and see if the City Council wanted to use the proclamation that's set up by the National Burn Awareness. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Coco. So going back to what Kurt said, I think that we can take a look at events in general, looking at both the open house and the moving forward with the burn-wise, do a motion in that direction. And then also, I thought we had already done a motion to continue with what the
I think the Dr. Park pilot program is set to expire in May,
okay. Okay.
so
So,
we can continue that conversation in May.
so, and Jamie, the library had signs down there with the story time around, and they got water damage and vandalism damage, but temporary signs to show people up to the community cabin, I think would be a great, yeah, kind of event-based thing. I would make a motion that we continue the Adopt a Park program and that they continue the work that was started.
I second.
I have a first and second. Any additional comments?
I would like to know if they could put that through the end of 2025 so that we could revisit with your agendas later on the Dog Days of Summer. We want to do that at a different time, but sometime in August, because that was very, very popular. That's a very popular park, and
Yeah.
people were very enthusiastic about it.
So Coco, you're asking that it go through the end of 2025? I would amend my motion to include that it goes through the end of 2025.
Okay, thank you. Everybody hear a second?
Sure, second.
Okay. So we have a first and second. Any other additional comments? All those in favor for extending through the end of 2025, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make another motion. I'd like to move that we approve the open house events with AAPP hosting them as enumerated on this staffing report for the January, February, and in May, the different events that are scheduled.
Is that out of it?
Including the EPA?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the February event is the EPA event.
Right.
It's a combination. Yeah, the February event is a combination of the EPA Clean Burn and the National Burn Awareness, since they kind of dovetail into each
Yeah.
other. And it's a good opportunity. I always want a big rainstorm so people can see the roof does need to be fixed. So, thank you.
Thank you, Coco. I have a first. Jamie, did you second?
Second.
I have a first and second. Any additional comment? All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Can I ask one other thing that's on this thing? And it was about requesting statistics, which I get where the group is coming from, how important that is. I wish we could come up with some creative ideas about get statistics about park usage, other than just sign-up sheets when we have an event. I'm not 100% sure how to do that, but I hope we can think about it. And I don't know whether or not staff has ever considered or done putting a counter across the entranceways into Toppets Park to get counts of vehicles going in there.
Yeah.
you know, just to get an idea, because I do think that's important. When you write for a grant or something, they want to know how used it is, so.
That's true. Coco?
I can tell you that at state parks, all of their parks have a box that has a tube, and there's a formula for counting wheels. So every month, part of what they do, and with their meter reads and their water reads and their playground inspections, et cetera, is they get the count. That's how they come up with the visitor totals annually for how many people visit any locations in state parks. And they're usually, you know, at the driveways. So you could have them at, you know, different locations that you could do that. And they're not that sophisticated. I mean, you can get mechanical ones. The other thing is when you have groups that use like your ball fields or your skate parks or things like that, but you need to have that inclusive counting from the community groups that have come here sporadically when they need something to be empowered to give a monthly reading to somebody. I know Megan Stark does the volunteer count, and we do that for Adopt a Park. We give the volunteer count. But having those counts for your visitor and activities is really important because, you know, the only places I can think of is if you either have a special use permit or you have something where, like when Cricket does the open houses there, they have a sign-in sheet or something. If you have a workshop, that you have some data. But otherwise, I don't know if the city already has a way that they're acquiring data for visitors.
So I think we could definitely track vehicles coming in and out of John Toppins Park. We have 2 entrances into that park. Not a foot traffic goes into there because we don't have a trail that goes into there until the SWAC develops theirs. We do have some entrances off of the north end, up off of the Crocker, those streets up there, Fenwick and Seagate and all those. They have pedestrian entrances in there. There is a pedestrian entrance off of Ackerman, and there's one entrance, pedestrian off of Shoneman as well. But we can definitely put in, or do a traffic count that's going in and then kind of extrapolate that, you know, do it kind of over a period of time and get that. We do have a lot of resources coming from the organizations that are organizations. So we have the pool. We know we get a count of all the visitors to the pool each year. We get a count of the members at the softball events that happen. We don't have a mechanism in place to count how many skateboard users use that. We don't have a mechanism to count the users of Mingus Park or Taylor Wasson or Ed Lund or Windy Hill or Eastside. We don't have a mechanism in place for those because those are pocket parks that, you know, people can come in and out of however many ways that they want. And so we really don't have an easy mechanism of doing that. But I do think it's important if we can gather information out of John Toppins that we could say, you know, this is the percentage of users, this is the quantity of users at this park. And from there, we could probably say, I think, you know, at this park of, you know, not of equal size, because that's a very large park, but you know, similar amenities or you know, similar usage.
Yeah, you could use a vehicle count for the boat ramp in East Side too, because there's just that single road access that goes in there.
And then the other thing that happens, as much as we did with the master plan, where we actually set at the farmer's market certain times, we could do something with Adopt a Park volunteers where quarterly you go into a park and you just do a counter, kind of if you've ever had to count fish coming through Bonneville with the clip, and you're just doing a count. So you do it like spring break and, you know, maybe in the summer and then in the fall and the winter. And that way you get just a flavor of that data, and it's a starting place, because I think it's something that's missing to see the usage. And it was really nice that the person that donated that book from the 40s that you guys saw was tracking that information, because that's something that is always utilized, I think, for insurance purposes, for all other things, is what is your user groups and what does that break down? And just having observers do that, we could see if we could get some volunteers to help.
Yeah, and it's expensive, but anywhere where we have security cameras, there's an AI interface that tracks individual users. Not that I use that anywhere. All right. Let us dive into the quarterly budget status and fiscal year ending 2026 budget discussion.
Let's dive in. What's that? Okay, so we can, if Kurt printed it up on a nice, should have had a poster made of that.
Oh, good, because I was gonna say it's,
must think the same way, it's called a tablecloth.
yeah, it's hard. No, it's hard to read that way. There we go, that's what we look at.
Wow.
And Jennifer's out there smiling at us, Coco.
I struggle with the way it's laid out as well.
So my first question always is that this is through what month this year?
This is through, this is current, this month.
So it goes through December, even though it's not the close of the month?
This tool that you have in front of you is our budget tracking tool that we track every month. It's real time. So we do have a FS10 report that is about 30 days behind. This is real time. The only one that is not probably is going to be the utilities, probably not up to date because we get billed after. So we're a month or two behind on that. But these are real time. So we're about 50% done with the year. Actually, we're done 50% of the year. So I think this report was done early this month. I think right around the 2nd or 3rd of this month. But it's fairly accurate to where we're at now.
One of the things that struck me was salaries, again, because I know you do a projected cost at so much a month or whatever, but that says percent budget anticipated to the end of the year shows at 126%. So I don't know if something's happened, if it's been cost of living increases or what. And you were nice enough to put fiscal year 22, 23, and 24 there as well. And from fiscal year 22 at 103,000 up to 162 now, there's been a significant increase. I'm not saying that's bad. It's just that it was an interesting thing to note. So do we have problems making up those shortfalls? Because you're anticipating a $33,000 shortfall in salaries.
Do we have meeting the salary
Now Jennifer's shaking her head because I did.
projections?
Supplemental budget.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is the
Playing catch up here.
thing that I'm talking about, and then being below. Most to me, when I looked at this, most of the other items are pretty much in track for what you would expect for halfway through the year. The couple that aren't are really small items. They're not a whole mess. Those two things I wanted to ask about too, because they're a large percentage of the budget. When we look at, I think it's building and grounds is like 85,000, but yet for contractual and litter patrol, we have 150 and 160,000. So it's most of the money in the budget other than salaries is in those two items.
Yeah. So we have materials and services and personnel services. And so we can go over and under in some items just as long as the bottom isn't negative. So you ask a really good question. Hey, it looks like we're projected to go over for personnel services. We are, and we're going to make sure that we account for that down in materials and services and spend less there. We can do a supplemental budget, absolutely. But again, budgeting, you can jump in here anytime. The idea is to get better and better every year. And so supplemental budgets, I think, they have their place. But if we don't, we can account for this next year. PERS have gone up, insurance has gone up. It's just we're chasing that. So we have recognized that. We actually met earlier this week to talk about where we can cut costs, and so we've already have a plan for that.
Okay. The breakouts down on the bottom on contractual and the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We had the $50,000 in there for the grant writer, and it shows how much we expended, not very much. And at one point, we had gotten rid of that grant writer, but now we have someone else who's going to do it. So that money's going to cover what else we've got going on.
That's one of the, that was one of them. But now we have, in my mind, it's better than that consultant. So,
Absolutely. A little bit more vested interest in it.
yes.
On your historic preservation, the MPC, that doesn't get expended very, can you explain? I mean, it shows your budgeted amount, but you're not spending very much out of it. Is there a reason?
Historic preservation. Help me here, Greg.
It's the extra little block down at the bottom.
Oh,
It's under contractual.
Yeah, for the Marshfield Pioneer Cemetery.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so.
Is that just your grant amounts that are expended?
Correct.
And then when the restrooms for Mingus Park come in, those types of things aren't shown here because they're on a separate, is that correct? When you get that grant funding, doesn't it have to be included?
So that's capital. So that'll go into a different fund. That'll
Okay.
go into what we call Fund 45.
Okay,
And so you'll see that underneath resources. And that's when we'll do a supplemental budget.
okay. Because I
That's a
know you
perfect
said something
example.
about supplemental, but I know as you get grants, you have to have that considered before you
Absolutely.
can expend it.
Yes.
And I believe you were successful with, if I'm not mistaken, Kinsman Foundation, is that correct?
We were.
The Kinsman.
$7,500. We're very excited.
Because we're a first time, okay. And then part of the Roto-Rooter will decrease, hopefully, for Mingus once we get
Correct.
restrooms, unless people start putting junk down there. Is there any thought of putting a fence around the restrooms when they're not in use?
We haven't gone down that path, but
Okay, okay. Just because whatever happened before is going to continue to happen, and I know it requires someone to lock that, because locking the restrooms with those auto locks don't always work if someone's in there, unless you're monitoring it. So, okay, thank you.
I noticed our $167,000 again for bed and bike down on the bottom of it. We have approximately $50,000 for planning. Is that the front street?
so what are you looking
It's
at?
at the very, oh, you want to see? So here's the 167, and we've got approximately 50,000. Is that the front street?
It was. And it was also, help me out, Greg, it was the 2024 street improvements. There was some bike restriping, so $7,000 got allocated there. So it was $40,000 for design and $7,000 for that, but then we just rounded up to account for any contingency.
Correct.
The only other thing that, I mean, I see all the expenses, but I never see the revenue.
So the
I don't
revenue,
see the revenue stream. Well, yeah,
so,
which is an issue, but,
would you like to?
For which fund? For-
well, see, that's the thing, I don't know.
Okay.
So for bike and ped, that revenue comes out of the gas tax. And then in future iterations of this form, of this document that you have, is we're going to, under Fund 1, the resources is the general fund, and that's how this parks budget is funded. So probably won't see resources for this fund, this because it comes out of the general fund. That's where this is funded from. In other funds, like Fund 45, the capital fund, once again, that's done through transfers. But on Fund 2, we're going to start tracking the resources and how those monies come into Fund 2, which is where the bike and ped line item lives.
And we can certainly show those to you next time.
Yes.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that I don't know in the Parks Department with staff positions or not, whether we partially fund some positions because they work in other departments as well.
That's
And
correct.
it's just kind of a way to see where that money's all going.
Okay, so also in the budget, and we can provide this to you, there is a breakdown of percentages and where they go into what funds and how many FTEs there are. So it's all in the budget. It's very transparent. We can provide that to you.
Yes. Actually, it's in our budget, yeah. And it can be found, I think, online, correct, our budget?
Yeah, but we can
But
we can shoot that on over to you.
Anyways, it's a big task, and personally, I appreciate you providing all this information and us taking a look at it. And I hope that, I don't know when you start preparing fiscal year '26, but I hope at some time we can get involved a little bit in that too and look at it before it actually gets submitted.
So that's on our radar. You have expressed an interest in being part of that budget process. So we should be getting that budget from the city manager and finance director, I think probably February, March. Keep asking. We won't forget, but keep asking. And as soon as we know, you'll know, and then we'll have a work session.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and the, for this 01-306, the parks budget, we meet monthly to discuss this, this budget as well as the other budgets that operations manages. So we meet monthly on that to kind of just go over where we're at, what we're looking at, what we're projecting out, and you know, where we're at each month. And so we appreciate that you guys think it's a big lift, but for us, this is just a monthly task that we like to do, and so for us, it's important.
Right. Well, I like, not because I think anybody's doing anything wrong, but people ask me, about parks, and, I can tell them that there's one line item in there for $85,000, and that's all they get for building and park maintenance. So, I mean, it's important to be able to provide that information to people when they ask us questions about what's going on with the park.
Okay.
And I would have to reiterate, the one thing that I truly appreciate about staff and the city is their transparency. So I feel that the city of Coos Bay is very focused on transparency, and I have to applaud that effort, because there are other municipalities that are not. And so I do really appreciate
No,
that.
thank you. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. All right, we'll roll on down to project updates.
A summary of the recent grants and projects. We have the Mingus Park restrooms, First Interstate Bank Foundation application has been awarded a donation in the amount of $1,000. I'm just gonna give you guys the updates. Weyerhaeuser Giving Fund submitted a $25,000 application. That application was unsuccessful. An application submitted to the Coquille Community Tribal Fund asking for $10,000 was unsuccessful. Coco shared about the National Register. We submitted the third round of revisions per Oregon Parks requests. The nomination form and public written testimony can be found on their website. Safe Routes to School, for capital improvements, the Safe Routes to School, staff has inquired about the possibility of including additional schools in the Coos Bay SRTS plan. Alta Planning advised the existing conditions and site visit components for Marshfield High School and Sunset School have been completed. Incorporating other schools with the same level of detail may not be feasible at this stage. Alta Planning recommends adding a section to the SRTS plan titled Other Schools in Coos Bay to briefly highlight transportation issues at additional schools and their potential benefits from proposed improvements. Gathering input from the project management team may be necessary to provide details and photos. Further discussion on this will be needed. Mingus Park rewilding is now expected to be completed fall of 2025. Hay has been applied across the rewilding project area to stabilize the area for the winter. Anderson sidewalk improvements is almost complete. Operations and maintenance has been busy. Staff has set up Christmas trees at the Visitor Center, Information Center. Santa made his entrance on Friday, November 29th. He was joined with Mayor Benetti to light the Christmas tree and kick off the holiday season. Staff set up a community Christmas tree in Empire to celebrate the holiday season on December 6th. Santa visited the open house at the Star of Hope and helped light the Christmas tree in front of the Empire mural. Staff set up holiday decorations throughout the city to foster a festive community atmosphere. Sidewalk improvements work continues on the sidewalk along 101 at Golden Avenue. Green parking lot. The city's green parking lot project at 3rd and Central Avenue is now complete. Visitors can enjoy the native plants and learn from excellent interpretive signs developed in collaboration with the language and education teams from the Confederated Tribes of Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Sayusla Indians. The signs located along the side of the Time Bomb building showcase the native Hannis and Moluc languages, highlighting the cultural and ecological heritage of the area. And the new sign that the Park Commission voted on has been installed at the community building in Mingus Park.
Thank you so much.
Also, I'd like to add on top of that, down at the boardwalk, the bulwarks, those are the, kind of like the benches that people like to sit on. They've been rotted out. Staff has replaced or has flipped some of the boards that may not be ready to be replaced. But we replaced approximately 15 boards that were totally rotted out. We've got brand new boards down there. And then we were able to flip about 30 other boards to just kind of prolong the life of those. As soon as we get some good weather, we're going to go down and paint. But also in March, we're going to be replacing all the top handrails, starting at the north dock entrance, all the way up to and including the interior of the glass enclosed pavilion. So those are just two other projects, not the boardwalk, that I didn't tell Christina about when she was putting her staff report together, that we're either completed or are working on.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I got one.
Yeah.
Or more then.
Yeah.
First off, thank you guys for asking about the safe routes to schools, because I brought that up about the other schools last time, and I appreciate you following through on that. And I understand they're partway through the project, and so it's difficult for them to include it, but I do appreciate you. I do appreciate you asking them for it. The Mingus Park rewilding completed in the fall of 2025. Is that just because we have to wait for the ground to stabilize for a while? Is it a money thing? And the only reason I ask is we kind of missed the summer then.
No, the plantings. So we plan to have the groundwork all done, the pathways, all that stuff done during the wintertime. However, the plantings need to be done at the beginning of the wet season. And so we'll be done with a lot of the work. We'll be done with about 95% of it, but the last 5% of the actual rewilding of the Mingus Park playground area is going to be done, but we can't do that until we get closer to the wet season.
Okay. And then on the Spring Street project, which always throws me off because I think Anderson, and I think Ocean Boulevard to 11th, excuse me. The stuff that we have down there is great, but that does include that bike lane stuff, right? As well as the removal of the center stripe.
Correct. Yes, that project does include that. Because there is existing striping on there, on that project, the proposal is to grind out and do a 2-inch inlay on the eastbound lane. There was no other proposals or improvements suggested for the rest of the roadway except for the striping. Because we have to do a slurry seal on that other areas with all that other paint on the ground, we have to cover all that other paint. Slurry is better installed when it's a little bit warmer. And so we actually have our pre-construction meeting scheduled in January. I think the substantial completion is scheduled for April 31st with final completion of May 31st. And so we have to give some time, some latitude to that application of this slurry to get rid of any of those confusing lines that are still going to be on the ground. We just don't want to make it a confusing situation for either the vehicular traffic, the bicycling traffic, or the pedestrians, anybody that's going to be in that area. We just want to get rid of any of those confusing markings that are still going to be on the ground. So we have to put this slurry seal down, but we've got to wait until we get to a little bit warmer weather.
And since you brought up the boardwalk down there, you know, I asked Jennifer about this, and she was nice enough to respond. She's not here right now, and I understand the difficulties, but the pathway that goes down to the south is getting terribly undercut, you know, so that in one part, the asphalt's getting ready to cave in. I notice it's marked off, but even a little bit farther north of that place, there's a lot of places where the rock, the riprap, has all been washed away and is starting to threaten that. And I understand this completely. The city's only responsible for the pathway, the asphalt on the pathway. The dike construction stuff is the Port of Coos Bay. And I just hope that we put as much pressure as possible on them to make sure that they fix that before the pathway actually is damaged considerably.
Yeah, we've been monitoring that for quite some time. We've made, the port is well aware that is having some failure there. We've been monitoring it for quite some time. It really hasn't moved since we first initially noticed it to today, but we've been monitoring it about once a month. We're out there looking at it. That's why the paint always looks brand new, because we're having to put more paint down on the ground just so we know exactly where it's at. The second part of that is that you're absolutely right. It is the port's dike. However, that failed dike, if something were to happen to that dike, is not just going to affect the port, it's going to affect the city. And so, yeah, we are having constant conversations with the port regarding that. But yeah, I hope we can keep the pressure on them, keep our foot on the gas pedal, and continue to let them know that we think it's important. And
Did you get down there on the king tide this last time?
I did not make it down there.
There's a photo there, it's pretty amazing. You can see it's only probably this far from the top of that.
Yeah, I saw, when I was driving by the king tide, I saw how high the docks and the boats were. And I was like,
And next month, it's going to be almost a foot higher.
is next month's king tide higher? Then I can't wait to see that. Yeah, but yeah, we're well aware of it, and like I said, we've been monitoring it for quite some time. That damage occurred about a year ago, year and a quarter. That's why we've been down there taking a look at it and just kind of assessing and monitoring it and seeing if it's changed. But once again, it's the port's dike. We just are required to maintain, or we have an easement with them to maintain the 2-inch pavement.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Any other commissioner comments on project updates? All right. I'd like to dive into agendas and regular meetings and work sessions. I noticed that we don't have anything scheduled on our January 2nd work session, and I'm assuming, like most people, it'll be a slightly hectic time. So I would like to consider skipping our January 2nd work session and just rolling with the January 16th regular meeting. Okay. Can I get a motion to skip, or do we just need a consensus?
I think you just need a consensus
Okay.
on that.
I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. Is
Yeah.
everyone okay with missing? Yeah, January 2nd. All right. So we will skip January 2nd, and we'll keep the January 16th work session. Any other items that people would like to add now? You can see that we've put in, we probably are going to end up skipping the July 3rd one. That is a good point, Patty, since most people will not be here. So general consensus at this time to skip the July 3rd, since it'll be, people will be down at the casino, and we'll be listening to the fireworks from here. So, all right.
You guys don't want to work on that day?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the 3rd is a holiday for the city or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I was here last year
Yeah.
on the 4th. You guys were, disappointingly so, you guys weren't here.
Down to 10 work sessions, just like that.
Instantly. And also, just keep in mind that we can always add items to the agenda and take a look at different things that we add on through there. I like that we are having our quarterly updates and our every other month updates from our regular contributors, so I appreciate that. Any other comments on future agendas? No? I will start with closing comment, or
So,
Greg?
just real quick, I think for the, well, we have the consensus to go after the TGM grant, so that doesn't need to be a topic. My question is,
We just want to see when it's awarded. Can we go ahead and
we
put that on the
can put
agenda?
that in March. At the January 16th meeting, and I know maybe this is public comments, or maybe somebody else is going to talk about it, but at the January 16th meeting, we're going to be without 2 of our current commissioners. This is the last meeting for Coco and the last meeting for Bev. But at that January 16th meeting, we have on the Adopt a Park pilot program, we have 3 members. In January, we'll be down to just 2 members. Do we want to have on the agenda item to add a 3rd member?
Yes.
Okay.
We know where you live. No.
I'm going to be a volunteer directly with the city, but I won't be on your
Yeah. We still
council. So
anticipate
you
to
need
see
to
you.
have your council people be in that as well.
Okay,
You know, the chairs up here are more comfortable than the chairs down there. So.
just a little bit. And then, but other than that, I think the only other item I think is gonna be on here, because we got kind of messed up at the beginning, is gonna be the quarterly report from the kayak vendor. We could put that in January. We have it in January. Right now, it's on the March, but I think it was scheduled for this month. But we just
Okay.
did it, I think, in in October.
Yeah.
And so I think we can make it in January, and then from there, we can just kind of manipulate the schedule out. Just have a
Okay.
January, every 4 months from there.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah,
3
that-
months from there.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
All right. We'll roll into Commissioner closing comments. Coco?
Well, I just wanted to remind the 3 current Adopt-A-Park people that we need to have a meeting probably right after Christmas so that we can get the 2025 event set up, and I'll give you the updates on the posts and all the stuff that we have for that. And if anybody's interested in helping with things, we'd like to see more inclusiveness with advertising and maybe getting someone from city council besides Carmen to come to our events, because we'd like to do some kind of a press release at one of our open houses this year for the people that donated to that sign up at the cabin. I think the sign alone is about $2,500, and then another $800 or $900 for the posts, and then I don't know what the city put in from Lexon, and that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that cost
Yeah,
was.
it's at least
Negligible
$80.
to the
Okay.
rest of the,
Yeah, but that's
cost.
quite the thing, and it's got lights on the top, so
looks nice.
we'd like to do something for that and get some press, so we could think about that at our Adopt-A-Park outline. So
Sounds good.
if you guys can let me know when you're available, thank you.
Carmen?
I'd just like to thank Coco and Bev for serving on the Parks Commission. It's gonna be sad to not have you here in the new year. There's been a ton of work done by both of you in various ways, and your legacy will live on in terms of the work that you've done in this particular commission. And of course, I don't expect to see you all just waning in what you do already, but I just want to say thank you for all the work. Bev, I hope you can hear that too. Thank you for all the work you do at Mingus and making everything beautiful, and I just want to give my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to both of you, and wish everybody a happy holidays.
I would just like to support that. Thank you, Coco, and Bev in particular. Bev's been on the commission for 24 years, and not sure Mingus is going to survive without her. So appreciate that level of commitment, and happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Bev, it's always been an honor for all these years to serve on the commission with you. It's going to be sad to not see you, and so I appreciate everything that you've done, and I look forward to seeing you out in public as just regular people, not commissioners. So I appreciate everything that you've done. And Coco, I appreciate your commitment through this last couple years. We appreciate that as well. So thank you to you both. We really appreciate you. It's people like you that make our community what it is. So thank you.
Or just a comment, I hope.
It's always nice when you're new on a board to have somebody to look up to, and there's those who are leaving. There's certainly those people I'm speaking of. So thank you for your advice and leadership. And the only other thing I want to say is I hope to see anybody that you know of, and perhaps you, at the Millicoma Marsh cleanup on the 11th. Bring sturdy gloves. There's prickly things.
I know that the first open house event that we're going to have is scheduled for either January the 11th or the January the 18th. So if it ends up being January the 11th, can you send us out an email, because it'll be before our next Parks Commission meeting, and then maybe some of us will even show up, like me. Then I'm going to sound like a broken record and thank Bev and Coco for all the work they've done on the Parks Commission. You know, I haven't been on the commission for too long, but I appreciate their leadership and their contribution. And it's nice to see people that are willing to work to make their community a better place. So, and with that, I would just like to wish everybody a happy holidays, and I guess I'll see you after the new year.
And Bev, closing comments?
If you folks can hear me, I'm not leaving the community, I'm just going to be off this commission, but I'm still, Sonny and I will still be.
Bev, I'm so sorry, we cannot hear you. We know that you can hear us, but I'm not sure if it's a volume thing, but please send an email if you'd like me to share anything.
Thank you, Bev. We'll wave at you, and you wave at us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bev.
Thank you, Bev. Staff closing comments?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's been a fun year. It's been a very interesting year. I really do appreciate the work of this body. We've got a lot accomplished. I think we really made some strides forward in a lot of different areas. I'd like to echo kind of what Jennifer was talking about. Don't get discouraged on some of these step backs that we had in regards to some of this bike and ped things. I think there is a path moving forward with those. And I look forward to working with this commission and getting those goals accomplished. I think it's close. It's just a matter of getting those things. I think the direction and the recommendation to move forward with that TGM grant, getting a comprehensive bike and ped plan and getting everything laid out and then start working the plan, I think is going to be very instrumental to seeing those successful strides forward and meeting the council goals of becoming a more bike-friendly city. I really do think that that's going to help out. Secondly, Coco, Bev, you've been on this commission since I've been part of this commission, and just nod if you agree with what I'm saying. But we really do appreciate, we're going to miss you here on this commission. I'm going to miss you. I know that we've had some good conversations, and we just really do appreciate the hard work that you've dedicated to this commission for the past almost 25 years. So thank you very much. And Coco, your impact on this commission in the short amount of time that you've been on it has been very impactful. And I think that you've shown this commission what a commission member with a lot of energy can do, and what we as a commission can provide guidance to do with that energy. It's going to be missed, but I do appreciate it. So thank you very much to everybody. I hope everybody has a wonderful, happy holidays. I'm off tomorrow, and I'll be back in the office on January the 6th. So we're going, my wife and I are leaving the kids for Christmas for the first time, and we're going to go on a vacation without them. They're pretty upset. But I told them, you're all grown, you guys will manage just fine. So I really do appreciate this commission. Thank you to everybody. I really do appreciate it. So thank you.
Coco and Bev, you guys will be missed. I hope we work together just as much in the future. My daughter celebrated her 13th birthday in the Scout Cabin this last weekend, and it was fantastic. It's a great place to have birthday parties.
Perfect.
And happy holidays, guys.
Thank you. Good. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We appreciate it, and I hope everyone has a safe, fun holiday season, and we look forward to seeing everyone in January. Thank you so much. We're adjourned.
My quick questions.
Thanks for the chocolate-covered espresso beans, Amy.